Hi everyone. This month we are focusing on how environmental toxins play a role in the health and longevity of our pets. And frankly, this not only affects our pets, but it also affects us. And our pets can actually be really good sentinels for what is going on within our households, things that we may not even think about. We want to focus for this section on indoor air quality and things that are going to affect the indoor air quality, and then what effects that air quality has on the body of our dogs, our cats, birds, people in the house. So we have a lot of things that we have to consider when we're looking at indoor air quality. Right at the top, we've got smoking. If we have smokers in the house, that gives us very poor air quality right off the bat, which is something that definitely affects our pets very heavily, even more so than it does us. When we are cleaning our houses, depending on what we're using, we may be using things that are toxins that could cause problems for our pets inhaling, licking, eating them. So we'll talk about a lot of these different things that we find in our households: molds, bacteria, gases that come off of carpets and furniture and from our cooking, and how these things affect our pets, and things that we can do to decrease the exposure to those toxins and improve the indoor air quality. Our pets have shorter lifespans than we do. So what we might put into 100 years, they might put into 10 or 20 years. So they age more quickly than we do, and they're aging faster than our children. They develop health problems from exposure to these pollutants much more rapidly than we do. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but part of it is that a lot of the toxins in our air are heavy and they'll sink, and they sink down to the carpeted areas, to the areas where our pets are sleeping, walking, crawling, rolling, licking. They will actually concentrate a lot of these toxins in their bodies much more heavily and much more quickly than we would. In one study, dogs and cats were found to be contaminated with 48 out of 70 chemicals that were tested, and 43 of those toxins were at levels higher than what was found in people. So this is a huge problem. 20% of the chemicals were at levels greater than 5 times that found in the people in the household. So that is a huge problem that we need to deal with. By helping clean up the air quality for ourselves, we're also going to help improve longevity and lifespan for our pets. The olfactory receptors are the smell receptors. We think about them being in the nose, and we smell these toxins or pollutants with our nose. However, those receptors have been found in every tissue in the body of mammals, so dogs, cats, people. And those receptors are involved in cell-to-cell recognition, migration, proliferation, and even cell death. So the cells multiply, divide, move to different areas of the body. That all involves these olfactory receptors. So it's not just the nose that is affected when we smell something that is bad. The olfactory receptor genes form the largest gene families in the genomes of mammals, which is kind of a shocking statistic. Humans have about 6 million scent receptors in their nose. Cats have 45 to 80 million, and our dogs have 149 to 300 million scent receptors. That is a huge difference. That's 50 times what we have. And the part of the dog's brain that is devoted to analyzing smells is 40 times greater than ours. That's why we can use dogs for scent work, for hunting and detection, for things like detecting cancers, because their nose is so much more sensitive than ours. They can pick up these trace smells that we just can't. So we want to talk about VOCs, which are volatile organic compounds. By volatile, that means it's something that changes and is kind of floating in the air. They have a high vapor pressure and a low water solubility. Many of these volatile organic compounds are human-made chemicals, and they're found in paints, pharmaceuticals, refrigerants, cleaning supplies, furnishings, carpet, flooring, cosmetics, perfumes, so many things. So when you're using your permanent markers or your magic markers and you smell that odor coming off of them, that is a VOC. when you buy new carpet or new furniture and it has that new car smell or that new carpet smell. It's off-gassing, and it's off-gassing these organic compounds, and that's what we're smelling. If you think about how strong that odor is for you, imagine being your dog and having it being 50 times more concentrated. Concentrations of these VOCs are consistently higher indoors, up to 10 times higher than outdoors. And if you think about keeping your house closed up, your ventilation may or may not be good. You may or may not have good filtration systems. So these volatile organic compounds can really be highly concentrated within the household. VOCs can cause headaches and nausea, irritation certainly to the throat, the nose, the eyes when you get that burning sensation in your eyes. But it also can cause internal damage, liver and kidney damage, and central nervous system damage. Damage to all of those systems can ultimately result in cancer and death. Our cats are medically more sensitive to volatile organic compounds than dogs because they lack an enzyme, P450 enzyme, that allows the compounds to be metabolized by the liver. So because the cats cannot metabolize things as well, they're much more likely to go into organ failure, liver disease, kidney disease, if they are chronically exposed to VOCs at high levels. So in our pets, the VOCs can cause many of the similar symptoms. Do they get a headache? We don't know, but certainly coughing, wheezing, asthma, bronchitis, nasal discharge because the body is trying to wash all this stuff out of the system, vomiting and diarrhea and changes in appetite, and certainly in our cats because they are more susceptible to these chemical compounds, weakness, collapse, seizures, tremors. A lot of times if you have a household where, let's say, somebody wears a lot of perfume or somebody likes to burn incense or have a lot of potpourri, you may find the animals not wanting to be in those rooms around those scents. They may hide in other areas of the house. They may not want to spend time in the rooms where those smells are more concentrated. Certainly we can see cancer, organ failure, and death in our pets from high levels of VOCs. So our little Tweety birds are even more sensitive. So we think about that old saying, the canary in the coal mine. Well, the canaries are kept in the coal mines to detect high levels of CO2, which are deadly to people, but the birds are much more sensitive. So the birds would die before the people would. So if you have a bird in your household, and let's say you're cooking on the stove with a coated pan and it burns and a lot of smoke is released, your bird may drop dead. That's a sign that volatile organic compounds are being released in the area and the birds are going to be much more sensitive. So it's highly recommended never to have your birds, if you have pet birds, that they should not live in the kitchen, that they should live in an area far away from the cooking areas of the house. We also want to keep them out of any freshly painted rooms for at least a week. So if you're having your house painted, if you're having new carpet installed, you're bringing in new furniture, anything that is off-gassing, definitely keep your birds away from it because they are just so highly sensitive. Things that we may not think about: air fresheners, plugins, sprays, or diffusers. So there's so many on the market now being marketed as natural and having essential oils. Unfortunately, many of those are not very pure, they're not high quality, and they're actually very dangerous for our pets. Most of them emit more than 100 different chemicals into the air. 24 VOCs found in these air freshener sprays, plugins, and diffusers are classified as toxic or hazardous under US law, yet they're still allowed in there. And for green products, again, those essential oil, natural, healthy, the emissions of the VOCs were not significantly different from other products. So we have to be really careful and wise about what we are using in our homes if we have pets. 19 different fire retardant chemicals were found in blood and urine samples from dogs. We find them in even higher levels in cats because they are grooming themselves all the time. They lie on the furniture, they lie on the carpet, and they spend so much time grooming. Dogs had 17 times the average amount of the fire retardants in their system than people. Cats had levels of 4 of the chemicals 5 times that found in humans. The polybrominated diphenyl ether fire retardants were 23 times higher in cats. They're even more sensitive than the dogs. The chemicals disrupt functioning of the thyroid hormones and pose risks to brain development. So particularly if we have puppies or kittens, young animals, young children in the household, these are really critical for disrupting brain development and glandular function, endocrine function within the body. We find fire retardants in almost everything: bedding, stain-proof furniture, carpets, food, house dust, and in contaminated air. So these fire retardants are pretty ubiquitous in furnishings that we find in the household and also building materials used in the household. Some of them we can avoid, some we can't. Cleaning agents. We want to avoid ammonia-based cleaners, which there are so many that can be used on tile and glass and carpet, wood, vinyl, multi-purpose cleaners. So you want to be reading the labels on these and avoid ammonia-based or bleach-based cleaners. Particularly bathroom cleaners, grout whiteners, mold and mildew removers are commonly bleach-based, and many carpet and floor cleaners contain toxic fumes that contaminate the air. If you have carpets, it's best to steam clean them. Actually, you can steam clean your hardwood and laminate floors as well without using any chemicals or deodorizers, or certainly not using anything that is going to give off toxic fumes. And we'll talk about some things that can be used that are natural that you could use instead. So a lot of these carpet deodorizing powders, foams, and dry shampoos can be very, very toxic for our pets. They can cause allergic reactions, skin allergies, breaking out, as well as inhalation problems because they are giving off odors as well. So we get dermatitis, which is an inflammation of the skin. They can cause asthma, coughing, wheezing. And really interestingly, the cleaning agents adhere to the carpet fibers and actually increase bacterial growth in the carpet. So if you have people in the house with allergies or pets with allergies, these will actually degrade the air quality in the house and increase the level of bacteria in the air within the house. Again, I'm not a huge fan of carpet. I don't have carpet in my house because I don't like smells and stains and bacteria and mold and dust that tends to cling to the carpet. So cigarette smoking, pets spend more time on the floor. That's where the smoke concentrations are higher. Smoke is heavy and it will sink, coat the carpets, coat the furniture. Secondhand cigarette smoke or third-hand cigarette smoke causes multiple diseases in pets. Certainly respiratory problems, respiratory cancers, chronic bronchitis, asthma, lymphoma, skin infections, respiratory tract infections, chronic sinusitis, chronic nasal discharge. We see that quite commonly. I had a lot of pets that came in that the pet smelled of cigarette smoke because of heavy smoking within the household, and those pets invariably came down with cancers, chronic coughs, chronic bronchitis, asthma, all kinds of problems. So mold can be a problem that you're not aware of. Mold can exist in your walls, in your subflooring, in a lot of places in your house where you're not seeing it, but it can be there. 30 to 50% of all structures have damp conditions that can encourage development of mold and bacteria inside the walls or in the floors, anywhere in the household. Mold can be very, very dangerous. It can cause allergic reactions, asthma, and spread infectious diseases. One of my technicians that worked for me, her younger brother was in a school that was mold infested and no one knew about it, and he actually developed seizures and had to have brain surgery secondary to fluid buildup in his brain from the mold in the school. It can be extremely dangerous. Using humidifiers, unvented heaters, and air conditioners increases the chance of moisture forming on the interior surfaces, promoting growth of mold and bacteria, and they release the microbial VOCs. So really important that you have your heating and air conditioning systems serviced at least once a year, that you change out your filters routinely, and that you are checking for anything. If you see anything like what's in the picture here on the wall, you definitely want to get remediation. Molds can cause coughing and wheezing, any kind of respiratory problems, eye discharge, excessive licking and scratching, bleeding from the mouth or nose, neurologic problems like my friend, vomiting and diarrhea, liver failure, and weakened immunity. And again, our animals sometimes can be sentinels for this, where they're just having these chronic problems worth looking for. If you're having home construction or renovation done, you're going to have a lot of dust released into the air. The VOCs are going to come from the paints, the primers, the adhesives, that foam insulation that's sprayed in. Certainly, if you have an older residence that is being rehabbed, lead paint and asbestos can be issues that can be released during that construction process. We had an old house that we did some construction in, ended up with a huge lead paint issue, lead dust throughout the house. So it can be a big deal. If you are rehabbing an older house, definitely contact somebody who knows about how to deal with things like that. And certainly you can uncover mold when you're doing construction or renovation. In order to diminish air pollution during that construction or renovation process, contain the area that is being worked on as much as possible. So hanging plastic barriers between the rooms. You can actually rent air scrubbers, which are basically big filter systems that are going to suck in all that dust, filter it out. You can run air purifiers in other areas of the home that are not under construction. If at all possible, board your pets during this process or go live somewhere else if you're having a major construction process done. Change out your air filters really often and ventilate as much as possible during the process. Talked a little bit about cooking when I was talking about birds. Gas stoves can release carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, and other pollutants, whether it's natural gas or propane. The pollutants can be released from heating oils and fats at high temperatures. Avoid those high temperatures as much as possible. Try to keep things on a lower level. Self-cleaning ovens create very high levels of pollutants. I hate when our self-cleaning oven goes on because the odor is just horrendous and it lingers in the house for about 24 hours. I hate it. Teflon-coated cookware or any kind of coated cookware, when it is overheated, releases chemicals that are particularly toxic to our birds, so be very careful. But Teflon is also found on heat lamps, irons, ironing board covers, stain-proof furniture, so it's in house dust. It can be on dog beds, carpets, because it's stain resistant and water repellent. Teflon is in a lot of things that you wouldn't think of. When we have these VOCs from cooking, it can worsen asthma, heart and lung disease, certainly irritating to the nose and throat, and can cause nausea. Ventilation is the key. Use your fans over your oven when you're cooking. Don't burn foods. Really try not to burn things. And again, don't house your birds near your kitchen. Wood burning stoves and fireplaces. I used to love my wood burning fireplace, but it was a huge problem for my respiratory tract. Wood burning stoves and fireplaces can produce harmful toxins that can damage your lungs, increase the risk of cancer and heart disease, and lead to early death. It certainly can worsen asthma and bronchitis, can cause pneumonia. 10% of cats have asthma. That's pretty sad. And most of our cats live inside, which means that our indoor air quality is not good. So we want to avoid fires that smolder and only burn clean, dry, seasoned wood. A lot of times we're bringing in wood that has molds on it, and then when we're burning the wood, we're releasing the mold toxins, a lot of VOCs into the air. You want to make sure your flue is open. How many times have you lit a fire in the fireplace and didn't remember to open the flue and the entire house is filled with smoke? Not good for anyone. So natural deodorizing alternatives. I told you I was going to give you some things that you could use instead. Lemon juice. Lemon juice is really good for drawing odors out of the air. So you can mix lemon juice with water and make it into a spray, spritz the air just like you would with any kind of air freshener. You can use that for cleaning cabinets, floors, all kinds of things. Baking soda will absorb odors really well, so that can be sprinkled on carpets and bedding. Dilute vinegar is awesome. It's antibacterial, antifungal, so you can use that as a cleaner, and you can mix your vinegar with your lemon juice if you want to have a different odor. You don't want the vinegar odor. You definitely want to increase airflow as much as possible, fresh air from the outside, if the outside air is not heavily contaminated. If you live near a factory or a plant that is emitting odors, that's not clean outside air that you want to bring in. And if you have plants in the house, which are really good for helping clean the air, make sure they're pet safe. If you're painting your house or you're buying furnishings or new flooring, purchase low VOC options. They are available. It's not going to make it zero, but it will decrease a lot compared to the ones that really off gas. Increase fresh air in the home. Use fans to maximize that fresh air. Use filters to filter out the pollutants. Keep your temperature and relative humidity as low as possible or comfortable, because the higher the humidity, the higher the temperature in the home, the more off-gassing you're going to get from these chemicals. If you have to do construction or renovation, move out or try to do it before you move in if you're moving into a new home or a house that you're renovating. So ways that we can purify the air inside: indoor water fountains. They're a natural humidifier. They provide negative ions that purify the air. Don't smoke inside the house, absolutely. Improve ventilation as much as possible. Change your air filters in your air handling systems, whether that's the heating system, the air conditioning system. Make sure you're changing those filters. You can get an air purifier. If you're going to use candles, use unscented beeswax or soy instead of paraffin candles. Use an exhaust fan when cooking, definitely. Use bamboo charcoal air purifying bags. Those are really cool. I used to use those. We had a very old house built in the 1840s, and the basement was damp, and I had a lot of those bamboo charcoal purifying bags down there, and it really, really helped. Indoor pet-safe houseplants will reduce indoor pollution. They're very good filters. Eliminate carpet as much as possible. I know they're pretty and they're soft to walk on, but they really do harbor bacteria, mold, dust, all kinds of problems. Vacuum and dust often. If at all possible, leave shoes outside, because our shoes track in a lot of things that we really would be better off leaving outside. These are some alternatives if you like to have things that smell good in your house. You can use the air optimizer that's there. Is actually a probiotic spray that you can use in the house. The Project Suds room and pet sprays are made with pet safe essential oils, so those are really nice. And then pet safe candles, the Project Home made by Project Suds, those are soy candles made with pet safe essential oils. They smell really good, they're not toxic, and it's not an overwhelming smell that is going to overwhelm your pets. But certainly if you're using anything like this, use in small amounts, test them out, see if your pets stay in the room or leave the room. If they leave, it's too strong for them. Other things that you can do, if you want to, you could put a pan on the stove with a little bit of water and put some of your favorite herbs or spices in there. So if you think about in the fall, we love the smell of apple cider. So some cloves and cinnamon and slices of apple, maybe a little lemon, and you can simmer that to get that natural odor in the house that's not going to be toxic. So you can do different herbs and spices and things that way, which would be a natural way to also freshen the house, give it a smell that you like without using anything toxic for your pets. So purifying the air, helping get things clean for all of us to breathe, is going to help you, but it's also really, really going to help your pets with their longevity and their longer health span, longer lifespan.